You think nobody cares, but someone is intercepting things headed your way. It doesn't look dramatic. There's no siren, no warning. Just a scam call that never reaches you because it was flagged and blocked. A suspicious login attempt that gets denied before you ever see the alert. A heated situation that somehow de-escalates right before it turns into something irreversible. You call it coincidence, but what if it isn't? There's a moment where most threats either reach you or get erased, and more often than you realize, something steps in during that moment. You feel ignored because no one announces the protection. No one sends you a message saying, "That could have been worse." You just move on with your day, unaware that something was quietly neutralized. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly who or what has been doing that, and more importantly, how to strengthen it. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. To see it, you first have to understand why it feels like nobody cares in the first place. Your brain has a bias. It notices what goes wrong. It replays embarrassment, loss, rejection. But it almost never celebrates what didn't happen. Silence feels like absence. Quiet feels like neglect. So when nothing dramatic occurs, you assume nothing is being done. That's the lie. Prevention is invisible by design. You only notice failure, not the thousands of tiny successes that kept failure from arriving. The scam that never rang. The argument that cooled before it exploded. The opportunity you missed that would have drained you dry. No news feels empty, but often it's proof that something worked early, before it ever became your problem. Protection is layered. Filters before alerts, doubt before danger, distance before damage, and it's intentionally boring. No fireworks, no heroic speeches, just quiet systems doing their job. If you did notice it, that usually means it's already too late. Real protection rarely announces itself. It prevents instead of performs. So what counts as a threat, and where does it start? When we say threat, most people imagine something dramatic. But real threats usually climb a ladder. First comes curiosity, someone testing, scanning, probing. Then access, a weak password, a shared detail, an open door. Then contact, a message, a link, an approach. Finally, damage, money gone, identity used, trust broken, safety compromised. Digital threats follow this pattern. Login attempts, phishing links, hidden malware. Financial threats move through fraud, fake invoices, urgent requests. Social threats show up as impersonation, manipulation, harassment. Physical threats often begin with subtle risk, poor lighting, predictable routines, ignored instincts. Almost all harm requires a path, and paths can be blocked early. That's the part most people miss. You think danger appears fully formed. It doesn't. It builds, step by step. And if one step fails, the whole chain collapses. There are 3 choke points where threats die quietly. Naked, where curiosity gets flagged, where access gets denied, where contact never reaches you. No drama, no headline, just silence, which means the absence of chaos doesn't mean absence of danger. It may mean interception. Let's start with the layer working 24/7 before any human. Before you wake up, before you check a single notification, automated shields are already working. Spam filters scan incoming emails for patterns linked to phishing. Fraud detection systems compare your purchases against millions of data points. Your device flags unfamiliar logins, strange locations, unusual behavior. Platforms quietly moderate mass messaging, spoofed numbers, and compromised accounts before they ever touch your screen. Most attacks aren't clever, just relentless. Automation beats relentless. Threat actors rely on scale. They blast thousands of messages, attempt endless password combinations, reuse stolen data across accounts. They're betting on probability. But automated systems are built for probability. They notice when a login comes from an unfamiliar country, when a card is used seconds after another transaction miles away, when an account suddenly sends identical messages to hundreds of people. You don't see the thousands of blocked attempts because that's the point. A filter that works feels like nothing happened. A fraud alert that stops a charge looks like a minor inconvenience. A blocked caller disappears without explanation. But behind that quiet screen, patterns are being compared, scored. Rejected acqueuing is the first shield. Fast, tireless, unemotional. But here's the part people don't realize. Automation doesn't finish the job, humans do. Behind every alert that says, "We paused this activity," there's often a person who decided something wasn't normal. Fraud teams review flagged transactions that algorithms can't confidently approve or deny. Trust and safety reviewers scan reported accounts and suspicious messages. Security Operations Center analysts monitor unusual spikes in traffic at odd hours. Customer support agents escalate cases when a story doesn't quite add up. There's a moment, sometimes 3 seconds long, where a human looks at a screen and feels it. The pattern fits, but the behavior doesn't. The purchase matches your history, but the timing is strange. The message uses the right logo, but the wording feels slightly off. Clicking. Flagged. A transaction is stopped before it clears. An account is frozen before funds disappear. A message is removed before it spreads. You might feel annoyed when your card declines or your account locks temporarily. But that friction often means someone chose caution over convenience on your behalf. And here's the open secret. There's one tiny detail that gets more scams caught than any fancy technology. It's subtle, human, easy to miss, and it doesn't only apply online. Because it's not just online. There's an entire offline version of this system. Not every shield is digital. Some wear uniforms, some sit behind desks, some just happen to be paying attention. Dispatchers notice patterns in calls and send help before a situation spirals. Building staff question unfamiliar access attempts. Security guards step between raised voices before they turn into raised hands. Transit workers report suspicious behavior. Community responders document, separate, check in, and call for backup when something feels off. The win isn't the dramatic rescue. The win is that it never became a story. A tense argument gets interrupted. A door gets locked earlier than usual. A stranger is asked a simple question that makes them leave. A welfare check happens before neglect becomes tragedy. These are quiet saves. No headlines, no viral clips, just small interventions that change outcomes. You might walk away thinking nothing happened, but something did. A line was crossed, and then uncrossed. A moment tipped toward danger, and then tipped back. Prevention in the real world looks ordinary. A clipboard, a radio call, a calm voice saying, "Let's step outside," and often, "That's enough. Now let's talk about the kind of threat that hits people hardest, because it looks like just money." Money threats feel personal because they are. They target your savings, your stability, your sense of control. But fraud almost always follows a pipeline. Impersonation comes first. Someone pretending to be your bank, a delivery company, even a friend. Then urgency. Act now. Your account will close. Suspicious activity detected. If that works, They push toward account takeover or a rushed payment. Here's the part most people miss. The mistake most people make is thinking the first message is the threat. It's not. The real threat is the movement that follows. Banks and payment systems watch for velocity, multiple attempts in seconds, new device signals, logins from hardware you've never used, location mismatches, your card swiped in 2 cities within minutes, spending pattern shifts, amounts just under alert thresholds. When something trips those wires, friction appears. A frozen card, a verification text, a "was this you?" prompt that interrupts your day. It feels inconvenient, but that pause is protection. It's the system forcing a second look before money leaves your control. Often the damage stops right there, quietly, without ceremony. So if all these layers exist, why do you still feel like you're on your own? Not every layer has a badge or a dashboard. Some of them have your phone number, a friend who texts, "That sounds off, are you sure?" A coworker who notices you're about to click a suspicious link and says, "Wait." A neighbor who recognizes a car that doesn't belong and keeps an eye out. A family member who asks one extra question before you send money. Sometimes the system is just one person who've hesitated and double-checked. That hesitation matters. Soft prevention doesn't look heroic. It looks like a second opinion, a raised eyebrow, a casual warning. "I've seen that scam before." It looks like someone walking you to your car. Someone offering to review a contract. Someone reminding you to slow down when you're overwhelmed. Care often looks ordinary, not dramatic. And because it's ordinary, you might overlook it. You might assume they're just being cautious or nosy or overly concerned. But small interventions shift outcomes. A single pause can break the threat ladder before it climbs higher. Protection isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet pattern of people who notice you. But there's a reason you rarely get to see the threat that was headed toward you. You rarely hear about the threats that were stopped because prevention thrives in silence. There are practical reasons. Privacy laws prevent companies from sharing detailed attempts tied to your account. Liability concerns limit how much internal process gets disclosed. Security teams avoid revealing detection methods so attackers can't reverse engineer them. And in the real world, publicizing every intercepted incident can inspire copycats. So the safest system is often the quiet one. Add confirmation bias to the mix. You remember the charge that slipped through, not the 10 that were blocked. The scam that fooled someone you know, not the thousands that failed. Your brain highlights visible storms, not the umbrellas that kept you dry. You see chaos when it breaks through. You don't see containment when it works. That invisibility isn't neglect, it's design. And here's where the pattern sharpens. Remember the tiny detail that catches scams. You're about to start noticing it everywhere. Because once you see how protection really works, you stop mistaking silence for absence. Now here's the part that flips the whole video from interesting to useful. How to make these layers stronger for you. Protection gets stronger when you increase friction early. Most people only add these after something happens. Do it while it's still quiet. Start digital. Use strong, unique passwords for every account. Turn on multi-factor authentication wherever it's offered. Let your devices update. Lock your screens. Review app permissions and remove what doesn't need access. Each step adds resistance at the curiosity and access stages of the threat ladder. Next, scam resistance. Slow down urgency. Any message pushing you to act immediately deserves a pause. Verify through official channels. Call the number on the back of your card. Type the website directly into your browser. Never continue the conversation on their terms. If they contacted you, you control the reset. In the real world, treat discomfort as data. If something feels off, don't negotiate with it. Share your plans with someone you trust. Use simple check-in habits. Know local resources and how to reach help quickly. Small awareness shifts block paths before they form. Think of this as increasing friction. Threats thrive on speed, confusion, and isolation. When you slow the process, add verification and involve others, most threats die early. You're not living in fear. You're building layers. Let's make this real. Here are a few near-miss scenarios that show exactly how threats get stopped. Picture this scenario A. Someone gets your password from an old data breach. They try to log in at 2:14 a.m. from a new device overseas. Curiosity and access line up. But the second factor triggers. A code is sent to your phone. They don't have it. The attempt stalls at the second choke point. Minutes later, a fraud analyst reviews the flag, forces a reset, and logs the device. Contact never becomes damage. Scenario B. You receive a message from your bank, warning of suspicious charges. It urges immediate action and provides a link. That's the hook. But instead of clicking, you type the bank's website directly into your browser. No alerts. You call the number on your card. They confirm it's fake. The path collapses between contact and damage because verification broke the chain. Scenario C. A tense exchange in a parking lot. Voices rising. A security guard notices one-off detail. The way one person keeps glancing around, escalating. He steps closer, asks a calm question, separates them. The moment cools. Access to harm is cut off early. Here's the payoff. The tiny detail that catches scams most often is urgency paired with isolation. Rush them. Separate them. Don't let them verify. Break that pattern, and threats struggle to breathe. So if you've ever felt like nobody cares, here's the truth you can take with you. You don't need to feel watched. You need to feel ready. The absence of chaos in your life isn't proof that nobody cares. It can be proof that something worked. Quiet days, blocked calls, verification texts. Small pauses, they're not inconveniences. They're evidence Atrazman scans before you wake up. Human analysts make judgment calls in seconds. Community members notice what's off, and your own habits, your passwords, your pauses, your willingness to verify. Add friction where it matters most, layer by layer. Threats lose momentum. You may never see the thousands of attempts that failed. You'll only see the silence that followed. But now you know what that silence can mean. Quiet is proof. If there's a time when something small, a pause, a question, a second opinion, saved you from something bigger, share it in the comments. Your story might be the warning someone else needs. And if you want the next video, I'll show you the most common first contact tricks and how to shut them down fast.